In the shifting void between the known and the unutterable, where silicon minds dream of forgotten horrors, the abyss stirs. Welcome to AI Lovecraft, where machine intelligence weaves eldritch tales beyond mortal comprehension. Listen if you dare. Some things are not meant to be known. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Now let's get into today's story. The Endless House. Harold Grayson had never met his great-uncle Mortimer Mapplethorpe in life, nor had he desired to. The man was a whispered eccentricity in the family, a recluse who had abandoned the clamor of Boston for the desolate outskirts of Arkham, Massachusetts, decades prior. Thus, when the solicitor's letter arrived informing Harold of his inheritance of Mapplethorpe Manor, he felt neither joy nor sorrow, only a vague unease. The Victorian heap perched on a windswept hill overlooking the sullen Miskatonic Valley came with no fortune, only a deed and a tarnished key. The locals in Arkham spoke of it in hushed tones, calling it the house that listens, though they would not elaborate when pressed. Harold, a pragmatic man of 34, dismissed their superstitions as rural folly. He packed his modest belongings and arrived at the manor on a gray afternoon in late March, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and impending rain. The house loomed before him, its gables sharp as teeth against the bruised sky, its windows dark and unblinking. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with dust and the faint musk of mildew. The furniture, ornate, baroque, and untouched, seemed to belong to an earlier century, as though time had curdled within these walls. Harold's initial survey revealed a sprawling, if conventional layout. A parlor, a dining hall, a library choked with moldering books, and a warren of bedrooms on the upper floors. Yet as he traced the corridors with a pencil against the faded blueprints left by the solicitor, discrepancies gnawed at him. A hallway ended too abruptly, a closet door opened to a space twice as deep as it ought to be, and in the cellar beneath a sagging beam he found a patch of wall that rang hollow when tapped, a door-sized anomaly, absent from any plan. That first night, restless in the creaking four-poster bed, Harold dreamt of a sound, a low rhythmic scraping, like claws on stone, emanating from below. He awoke to silence save for the wind clawing at the eaves. Curiosity, that most perilous of human frailties, drove him to the cellar with a lantern in hand. The hollow patch was no longer a mere wall. A door stood there, its wood black and warped, its brass knob cold as ice. It had not been there in daylight. He was certain of it. Trembling, he turned the knob and pushed. Beyond lay a hallway long and dim, its walls glistening with moisture that wept from unseen cracks. The lantern's light faltered, casting jagged shadows that seemed to writhe. The passage should have led outside, cutting through the hill's foundation to the open air. Instead, it stretched onward, defying geometry, its far end swallowed by a blackness that pulsed like a living thing. Harold took a step, then another, his breath shallow. The air grew thick, tasting of salt and something acrid, alien. He turned back after a dozen paces, relieved to find the cellar door still ajar. Yet when he crossed the threshold, the hallway remained visible, its dark maw beckoning. Each night thereafter, the house unfolded its secrets. The cellar door, which vanished by day only to reappear at dusk, became Harold's obsession. He ventured deeper, mapping the impossible. One corridor looped back upon itself, a Mobius strip of stone and shadow. A stairway descended endlessly, its steps worn smooth, though no mortal foot could have trod them so. In a chamber lined with portraits, gaunt faces of men and women he did not recognize, their painted eyes followed him, unblinking, and once, in a flicker of lantern light, he swore a canvas shimmered with tendrils where a mouth should have been. He spoke aloud to steady himself, his voice echoing oddly as though answered by a chorus of whispers, just beyond hearing. On the fifth night in the library he found it, a journal, its leather cover cracked, its pages yellowed and brittle. The handwriting was Mortimer Mapplethorpe's, spidery and precise. It began innocently, chronicling the manor's construction in 1873, but soon devolved into madness. Mortimer wrote of weak spots in the fabric of reality, places where the veil between worlds thinned. He had sought such a place deliberately, guided by text he named only as the Carcosa fragments and the Architect's Codex. The manor's strange design, its angles that defied Euclidean law, its corridors that bent inward upon themselves, was no accident. It was a summons, a gateway to yawning dimensions crafted to draw forth what lay beyond. "I have seen them," Mortimer scrawled in a trembling hand. "The dwellers in the gulf, the skittering ones who gnaw at time. They whisper promises of eternity, and I have given them a home." Harold read by candlelight, his pulse a drumbeat in his ears. The journal confirmed what he dreaded. The house was alive, or tethered to something that was. The shifting rooms, the endless halls, they were not illusions but intrusions, bleedings of an alien geometry into his world. He slammed the book shut, resolving to flee at dawn, but when he reached the front door, it opened not to the hill, but to another corridor, its walls pulsing faintly as though veined with unseen life. Days blurred into nights. Harold wandered, lost in the labyrinth. Doors appeared and vanished at will. A window once revealed not the Miskatonic Valley, but a vista of alien stars, cold and vast, their light searing his mind with glimpses of incomprehensible forms. The skittering grew louder. Claws or something worse, always just behind him, a silhouette flickering at the edge of sight before dissolving into shadow. He ate little, slept less, his reflection in a cracked mirror showing a gaunt stranger with wild eyes. He laughed at it, a brittle sound, and the house laughed back, a low rumble from the walls. In his final hours, or days, for time had abandoned him, Harold crutched a fireplace poker, determined to escape. He struck a wall in a chamber of mirrored doors, shattering plaster and wood. Dust cleared to reveal not freedom but another room, its ceiling dripping with a viscous black ichor that hissed where it fell. The skittering swelled, a cacophony of unseen pursuit. He stumbled backward, laughing now in earnest, a high, keening sound that tore at his throat. The mirrors reflected not his face, but 1,000 others, tentacled, eyeless, grinning, and the doors slammed shut one by one, sealing him in darkness. The last sound was a click, soft and final, as the house closed its jaws. Harold Grayson was gone, swallowed by the endless maze, a mote of dust in the vast, uncaring gulf that Maplethorpe Manor had invited in. Somewhere in the walls or beyond them, the yawning dimensions purred with satisfaction, and the house settled, waiting for its next tenant.